And it is the Saturday Coffee Klatch with Heather Lofthouse and yours truly, Robert Reich. Heather, it is nice to see you again. Did you have a good Labor Day weekend?
I did. I got out of town. I went to Calistoga, where there were scary fires, but we didn't breathe the smoke.
It is fire season.
I know, it's
in
very
California.
scary. And you've been traveling.
Yeah, I've been on the road, selling or flogging. Is flogging an appropriate
Of course it
way
is.
to
Hawking.
Hawking, flogging, the book. And met with wonderful people all over the country.
And the movie, you had back-to-back. You did
Yes.
Coming Up Short event, and then you rushed over to the Last Class film event.
Yes, in fact, we've done that several times.
In terms of the book, what I've loved is you've never once mentioned The Unmentionable, which is where Jeff Bezos sells things and you get them in 24 hours.
I don't even know who you're talking about.
I know you don't, but so we've seen all these people come out for independent bookstores. So last week we were at Pegasus, and so many people wrote in and said, "Yay for supporting independent
bookstores are so important, and so I include a link to
bookshop.org.
Bookshop.org, which is where you can get around the other place we were talking about.
I know.
Well, I mean, the corresponding link that I want to announce is your movie and Elliot's movie. You can find it, if you're interested, in thelastclassfilm.com. It's all one word, thelastclassfilm.com.
And it's at over 100 theaters. You were just at the Brattle, and there are so many places to see it.
And
it's a
little unnerving because you've got the book and the movie, and then I'm waiting for the album to come out.
We've all been waiting for the album.
I mean, hello, my backup band
It's going to be
still
so
has
great.
not been here.
Yeah, I've booked the Greek, so it's going to be huge when you launch. The Berkeley launch is going to be big.
Heather, what would you like to talk about today?
I would like to talk about.
Well, no, what do you want to talk about?
Right, maybe I'm not
what do
sure
you feel,
the verb.
What do you feel possessed about?
What am I required? You and I are required, mandatory to save democracy. Okay, so let's talk about the economy, including jobs report numbers, and then let's talk about Trump's latest antics to deflect. I mean, what he's up to these days.
Deflect. I mean, he wants to deflect, by the way. He will, beginning today, certainly from the economy, but also, obviously, from Jeffrey Epstein and a couple of other things we'll talk about. But the economy, we are in a jobs crash. It's a big deal. The Bureau of Labor Statistics yesterday came out with its August report, which showed, remarkably, only 22,000 net new jobs. Now, put this into context.
You have to.
What we assume about the economy, given just the population growth, is you're going to have 180,000 at least net new jobs per month. So when you get down to 22,000, you think that, something is wrong. And then the Bureau of Labor Statistics, even though Donald Trump doesn't believe it, what they do is they revise their previous months based upon new information. They can revise them.
Data. The word is data.
Yeah, new data, new actual analysis, new facts. And some of those facts are rounded up, and they don't come in every single month, but they do come in. And what the Bureau of Labor Statistics, can you say that? Statistics.
No, you said it beautifully.
Found is that the June number actually was a negative number, negative 13%. In other words, a job loss.
By thousands, right? 17,000 or something?
17,000. This is a huge deal. We haven't seen a net negative job report since 2020, since December of 2020.
Which was a pandemic.
Which was the beginning. Actually, a lot of businesses, there were a lot of economic indicators that we were heading into a pandemic. So the question is, what in the world is going on here? And when I say a jobs crash, I mean that employers are just scared. They don't know what Donald Trump is going to do next. When you have an economy under the thumb of somebody who is as arbitrary and capricious and mercurial as Donald Trump. And belligerent. Well, we'll get to the belligerence in a moment. But you just have no idea what's going to happen tomorrow, let alone next week, next month. So are you going to make new decisions to expand, to hire? No, you're not, obviously. And On top of that, you've got inflation. Donald Trump is hired not only initially to create
Hired.
hired, he's hired. Hopefully, he'll be fired.
I think he was
But he's
voted
hired
in.
especially to get prices down and create new jobs. Well, he's obviously not creating new jobs, but prices are not coming down. Prices are going up, largely because of his
Ta-
ta-
tariffs.
well, no, we won't.
Sorry. Import taxes.
Import taxes.
But they're tariffs. But they're import taxes.
So I mean, what we know already is that importers are paying huge sums of money. They are not absorbing it themselves. They are passing it on to the companies, to retailers, to manufacturers, to others
Who
in the
then
United
pass it
States.
on to
Who then pass it on to
consumers.
and to you and me and everybody else. And so food, I mean, look at vegetables. Vegetables. Eat your vegetables. Do you say that to Ollie?
Yeah, and he
Eat
does.
your vegetables?
Well, produce more generally. We
I
also
don't.
do a lot of
I have a
fruit.
vegetable. The reason I'm so short, I've decided, is because I hated to eat vegetables.
But did you do it anyway?
I didn't.
Interesting.
My mother used to pry open my mouth and shove peas in
Really?
my mouth.
Even peas you wouldn't do?
I wouldn't, and she shut my mouth, and I developed a really. Anyway,
That's
vegetable prices, vegetable prices have gone up 40%. Really, in July they went up. I mean, that's the last measure we have. And it's true. Electricity is rising faster, twice as fast as inflation. So you've got all of these prices going up very fast, and you have job growth at almost nothing. Really important inflection point. Trump is blaming the Fed's inability or unwillingness to lower interest rates for the lack of job growth. But the Fed doesn't want to lower interest rates if you have inflation on the horizon, obviously.
Right.
So
And stagflation is a worry, but he blames Jerome Powell specifically
he
over
blames
and over and over again.
Look, Trump is always going to look for somebody else to blame, always. And the blame is now the Fed and Jerome Powell and Lisa Cook and everybody he wants to replace.
And the head of BLS, and I mean, pick it.
But the reality here is that this economy is Donald Trump's economy. He can no longer blame Joe Biden.
Yep.
He now runs the economy. It's his tariffs. There were no tariffs to speak of before Donald Trump. He came up with a whole cockamamie tariff regime.
What is the average going to be? 18, 19%? I mean, it's very high.
It's very high.
It's bigger than we all even thought that he would do.
Yeah, and that means that we're all paying that import tax, everybody. And it's a much larger tax on lower income people, it gets me to the last point in terms of the economy, and it's very important. We're dealing really with a two-tiered economy. We have people who are doing very well, who are earning hundreds of thousands a year, and they are, given the stock market, they are fine. But if you are earning what a typical family is earning, 60, 70,000, you really are struggling. In fact, there was a clip somebody showed me.
Oh, yeah.
Of McDonald's.
The McDonald's CEO.
Can we see that?
It's so good. Because
Can we
you
see that?
said this. I think he's copying you.
Particularly with middle and lower income consumers, they're feeling under a lot of pressure right now. I think there's a lot of commentary about what's the state of the economy, how's it doing, and what we see is it's really kind of a two-tier economy. If you're upper income, earning over $100,000, things are good. What we see with middle and lower income consumers is actually a different story. It's that consumers under a lot of pressure. In our industry, traffic for lower income consumers is down double digits. And it's because people are either choosing to skip a meal, so we're seeing breakfast. People are actually skipping breakfast, or they're choosing to just eat at home.
So I thought it was really interesting, Heather, that you get the CEO of McDonald's, saying that he has got to deal with the fact that most of his customers are in deep economic doo-doo.
Yeah.
It's the economy is between the jobs crash and inflation, prices going up, and this two-tiered inequality widening. We're in a terrible economy.
It's terrible. And all the deflection that's happening is fascinating. So I like to follow this guy, Aaron Rupar. Do you ever follow him? He puts up just clips of things lots of Trump, lots of the regime, different people in the regime. And then you get lots of Fox News, and you see what's being said on Fox News. And there is, I saw one that was about electricity, blaming Obama on the prices of electricity. And because he tried to go green with electricity, that's why everything's so expensive now. So you have Trump deflecting on this one big level, right? Shouting all caps on Truth Social. But then it's like a trickle down effect where all the Fox News people and all the people in the manosphere and all the podcasters and everyone are still blaming Dems, still blaming
well, of course,
past.
They're going to try to blame Biden and the Dems, but how far can you go in blaming them when everything that's happened over the last 6 to 8 months has to do with things like tariffs and the big ugly bill?
Right.
I mean, attacking Medicaid and food stamps,
Yeah.
and giving a huge tax, a $1 trillion tax break to the wealthy. I mean, there comes a time when, I'm sorry, you can blame the Democrats if you want to, but this is clearly Donald Trump's economy, and it's Donald Trump's problem.
But he doesn't live in the present. I think he needs to do more meditation and really some work on himself.
The idea that Donald Trump would be, the idea of him meditating, I'm sorry,
but
that is the silliest idea I've heard about
I would
in the
pray
last
that
half
it would
hour.
happen. But so he blames the past, he blames other people. It's Biden, it's Jerome Powell over there. But then the latest thing you saw when he was sitting around the table and he had Mark Zuckerberg to his right and he had Melania and Bill Gates to his left, and it was a big tech dinner. And they said, what's going to happen with the jobs report tomorrow? This was on Thursday. And he said, well, the jobs numbers, these numbers, there's big, beautiful things that are, you won't know the real numbers for a year, because in a year you'll see the biggest, beautiful, most beautiful numbers. These numbers aren't the real, these numbers are different numbers. So it's like, it's either the people in the past or you have to hold on and anticipate what I'm going to sell you 1 year from now.
Well, this is all. In other words, the hardcore Trump voter is believing him as a matter of faith. This is a religion. But you've got a huge number of people in this country, not just Democrats, but independents and a lot of Republicans, who are living in the real world, in the real economy, and they say to themselves, wait a minute, things are really getting worse and worse and worse. This will show up, I promise you, Heather, in the midterm elections.
I'm going to hold you to it.
Well, you do. It's going to be harder and harder for the Republicans to rig the midterms in terms of changing the districts in Texas and in Missouri and in other Trump country states. It's going to be harder for them to try to rig the mail-in ballots, do so. They can't do it. There's not enough time. There's too much public attention. The courts are too much on it.
Yes.
I think that we're going to see. Now, again, I could be wrong, and I've been accused of being a cockeyed optimist.
Well, I thought you were going to say I've been accused of being wrong before, but I wasn't.
I have been, but and it's turned out they were right.
You're right.
But I do think that we're going to see a rout.
So some of the polling, did you see this Wall Street Journal poll that said 70% of Americans are doubtful about the American dream being a real thing?
Yeah.
And that number has gone way up high in terms of doubters.
Absolutely. And about 62% of Americans now disapprove of Trump's handling of prices and inflation. This is a big deal because,
Huge.
again, he was elected, I was going to say hired again, partly on that particular issue. So the next question is, what is he going to do to deflect attention? You've got, at the same time, the House Oversight Committee is moving ahead on Jeffrey Epstein, on getting the Epstein files, and underlying the Epstein files is the client list.
Yes.
That is, who was it? Who were the clients?
Right, I know.
Clients. And Trump is doing everything possible I was interested when the unemployment report came out. Trump's first belligerent comment yesterday in his emails, the first one was about Jeffrey Epstein.
Oh, yeah.
Isn't it interesting? He can't get Epstein out of his head.
Yeah.
Epstein is haunting Trump. So there has to be something.
But also, but jobs numbers came out, right? So it's deflecting with the thing he wants to deflect from.
But he's deflecting from the deflection.
Right, exactly.
But if you deflect from the deflection of the deflection, you know what you have. You're back where you were before.
The OD, the original deflection.
And so that's what he's trying to do. The other way I think he's trying to deflect from both Epstein and the bad economy is with belligerence. And when I say belligerence, I mean that he's got, the National Guard and troops in Washington, D.C. They're now armed. He is renaming the Defense Department the War Department.
The Department of War. Can we just pause? We can't just refer to these things and move on. That is wild.
Well, it used to be called the War Department. That's the old name. It was renamed the Defense Department, and I think.
But when?
I believe now. People watching this may have a different.
That's fine. Put it in the comments.
Fact.
We accept feedback.
But my impression is it was right after the Second World War. On the notion that really what we were trying to project to the rest of the world is we are not warmongers. We are trying to defend the United States, and we're trying to defend democracy. We're trying to defend the free world. Now, we didn't only do that, obviously. Richard Nixon, Henry Kissinger, and other warmongers did much worse. But the point I wanted to make is that we, as a nation, have tried to not play up our power in terms of just
hard
missiles and that hard power. But Donald Trump is trying to do that. And Hegseth at the Defense Department, yes, exactly. I mean,
watching him talk about. So there was a boat that was blown up by someone in the Department of War. 11 people died. Now they're saying, they were drug dealers. I mean, they were terrible. They were part of a gang.
They're alleged to be.
But isn't there maritime ethics? Don't you board a boat and say, you don't just, right? I mean, is it legal?
Heather, no, in terms of the rules of war or the Geneva Conventions or any kind of international agreement, bombing a boat and killing people because you suspect maybe
alleged.
They are doing something you don't like. No, that is illegal. That is a crime. That is a war crime. And I find when I hear about these things, like you, I'm at a loss for words.
I know.
I mean, how do you even deal with this? How do you explain it? We continue to provide arms to Netanyahu, and Netanyahu is literally starving the people of Gaza.
We see it over and over and over.
And what more evidence do we need that there is something fundamentally sadistic and immoral and crazy about what's happening in this world, particularly with Trump and Putin and Netanyahu?
But so then back on our own soil, we had these 76 Guatemalan kids, these minors, who were going to be shipped back, deported to Guatemala, but then a judge swept in and said, excuse me, no, this can't happen?
This is actually important because it raises, one of the big themes, particularly this past week and 10 days, is the federal courts doing really God's work
Yeoman's work.
Yeoman God work. I mean, it's really in terms of pushing back against what Trump is doing. And it's the tariffs. Big decision that the tariffs are illegal. Of course, they're illegal because it belongs to Congress, the right to and the authority to create tariffs. Number two, Los Angeles, taking over Los Angeles, illegal. Number three, Harvard University.
Yes.
You can't just stop the flow of funds to Harvard University. Number four, the Federal Trade Commission, the firing the commissioner. Number five, what was number five? It was the Guatemalan children. Well, in almost every respect, and that is just recently, that is just the last 10 days, the federal courts are saying to Trump, no. Now, to me, I want to say applause to the federal courts for upholding the rule of law, but also I wonder, at what point do you get a breaking point where Trump is going to say, or the people around Trump, Stephen Miller or Russell Vogt or even J.D. Vance, they're going to say, well, forget it. You, Trump, what you have to do is stand up to the federal courts. You've got to say, no, the federal courts are wrong.
Or Pam Bondi. But how many of these are going to go to the Supreme Court?
Well, some of them, I think that the Trump administration and the Justice Department will take them up to courts of appeals and then try to get to the Supreme Court. But even though the Supreme Court is hearing more cases these days on its so-called shadow docket, which means that it's not really giving much evidence as to why it's making decisions, a very bad thing for the Supreme Court, right, by the way, the court is still only taking a small fraction of the cases that come up to it on what's called certiorari. So we can expect that most of these trial court decisions, they may go to the Court of Appeals, but that's the end.
So, and I like on your Substack when you cite some of these things as seeds of hope or kernels of resistance that are happening, because we need to be reminded of this.
Well, we do, absolutely. And it's easy for people to feel like nothing is happening.
Or there's no resistance at all. But this is important resistance.
It's hugely important.
But it doesn't go on the front. I mean, it kind of goes on the front page for a minute, but it's hard
for a second. And also people don't, for the most part, understand what it means for a district court or for the Court of Appeals in here to say no to Donald Trump. Also, there's not a great deal of attention to the states like Illinois, J.B. Pritzker, or California, Newsom, or Maryland, which we have Wes Moore, pushing back against Trump's threats to put federal troops in all of these states. And that pushback is also enormously important.
Right.
Not very much press, not very much media attention to it, but it's big and it's critical.
Another example, too, is Newsom getting together. So it's California, it's Oregon, and it's Washington. And as the CDC crumbles under RFK Jr., we have these new entities springing up to make sure that there are feedback loops around public health and the right data is still moving through the system and that children get vaccines.
I was very interested that you have Washington, Oregon, and California. I mean, the West Coast of the United States getting together. I mean, think about this in a broader context, Heather. Are we going to see more and more blue states getting together, a kind of...
I know, but I hate this because there's so many blue people in red states.
Well, there are, but maybe they just have to get together themselves. I mean, the point is that so much of what Trump is doing and the people under him, RFK Jr., for example, most people believe in childhood vaccines. I mean,
yes,
this is.
It's called science. It's called saving lives.
And there was no question when I was a kid. I got all of the childhood vaccines. You got all of the childhood vaccines.
Of course, my kid got extra because we got him measles before he was 6 months, so it didn't count. So we had to get him double measles.
Double measles.
Yeah.
I never knew there was a double measles.
Yep.
But I mean, that's why do you? Of course you do that. You want to protect your kids.
I know, but it's
quackery. But you also want to protect your kids from other kids. In other words, vaccines are a classic public good.
Yes.
And this is a kind of example, and there are many other examples in Trump world where they say there are no such things as public goods.
That's
it. We're all individuals. We're all atomized individuals, just simply seeking as much money, as much power, as much happiness as we possibly can. But I take it a little farther than that.
Because I think there's no such thing as a public good except I'm going to go get my vaccine.
Yes.
Let's be real.
Because
You think Trump's not going to get a vaccine?
Because I'm privileged,
right,
and I am powerful, and I'm wealthy.
Right.
Exactly.
And just to watch measles come back, and I know you've written a lot about how polio, was a thing in your existence.
It was a terrible scourge. I mean, I remember visiting a friend of mine in an iron lung.
Yeah.
Her name was Holly, and I was 5 years old, and I was petrified, and she was petrified. She did come out of it. Yeah. I remember another friend, Johnny, who came down with polio. I mean, polio was a parent's nightmare because so many of these kids did not come out. They either were paralyzed for life, or they just never functioned.
But science and America and the government and organization and public health, it came together and it conquered it.
Exactly. It came together, Heather. And this is a very important point. I mean, we stood for, in the world and in our own minds, we stood for science. We stood for rational application of research. We stood for the Enlightenment values. When I said the Enlightenment, I'm talking about really the 18th century Enlightenment values of basically doing what people can for the polity, for the community, for society, for taking what you learn in science and applying it to the public good. It's gone, or at least Trump and the people behind Trump and around Trump want to create a kind of a pre-Enlightenment world, going back to what, the Dark Ages, the Middle Ages?
Lobotomies were common.
Well,
I feel like he wants to bring back lobotomies.
Can I quote you on that?
I mean, it just feels like, or maybe it's just brainworms. But also, science you build, you learn, it's iterative. You can't just take out chunks of years of data and then catch up.
No, you can't. And one of the many things that worries me is that you have all of these people in research universities who are the vanguard of American knowledge, the vanguard of our competitiveness internationally, the vanguard of our industry, the vanguard of our economy, the way we maintain our standard of living, and they are not any longer getting funding. The National Science Foundation, the National Institutes of Health. The Congress used to be really behind, and Republicans especially, behind all of this scientific research.
Yeah.
I remember from the 1950s with Sputnik, we had a Soviet Union that was competing with us, and we had to invest in science or they would, as Khrushchev said, they would kill us. They would, they would eat our lunch.
And we had American scientists, and we attracted scientists from all over the world to come here and build it here and do it here because of all of our resources and all of our tenacity.
And this is now being eaten away and undermined by Donald Trump and the people around him. J.D. Vance is, to me, one of the evil forces here, because J.D. Vance for years has been saying American higher education, these big research institutions of higher education, they are our enemies. Now, what is he talking about, enemies? Enemies?
I know. Says the guy who went to Yale.
Well, it's not only hypocrisy. It's also a kind of a small-mindedness in which he's worried about ideology.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And
control.
And the assumption is that somehow universities are places where left-wing ideology is born or coddled or generated. There's another way of putting that. You could say that universities are places where understanding, science, broad-mindedness, a kind of worldview is cultivated.
Right, and thrives.
But this is all another attempt. And what we're doing today, and I didn't know we were going to do this, but it's interesting, and thank you.
I know, I was thinking the same.
We're exploring what is actually behind Trump's deflections. And I started this conversation thinking, well, he wants to deflect attention from Jeffrey Epstein and also now the bad economy. But what you are suggesting is that he wants to deflect attention from really modernity, which is much more profound.
And depressing. I mean, that is wild.
It is wild.
What is he's able to accomplish or almost accomplish or...
Well, he's casting doubt in a lot of people's minds about...
We see it in the polls.
About facts and data and analysis and science and truth. And that's what a democracy depends on. That's what
And that's what dictators depend on, people having that doubt.
Exactly.
But you do see in the polls that people aren't thrilled with him. I mean, we've said this. So he's doing this, and his serious base is still behind him.
Well, this is important. And I think that we have to continue to remind ourselves that we are in the majority, that most Americans don't like what he's doing. Most Americans don't want an attack on immigrants, don't want an attack on science, don't want an attack on children, don't want to be as sadistic as he and the people around him are.
And don't want to listen to RFK Jr. saying, we don't need the vaccines.
That's really good. Heather, that is
Was
fabulous.
that good?
It was really good.
I had it inside me. I was like, let's try
Oh,
it.
it's fabulous. Thank you for that. So there.
Sorry.
It's good. It's great. I think there is reason, and I think it is rational to be not optimistic. I mean, I think that optimism itself may not be called for now, but at least not to despair, not to feel hopeless, not to feel certainly lonely.
But that's one of the reasons we all keep coffeeing with you.
Yes.
And
well,
I,
and you.
Well, me. Well,
I
we
keep
coffee
coughing-
with me too,
I
but
keep
I show
coughing
up.
with you.
I
Yes.
show up for you, and you can show up for me, and we all show up for everyone. But it's thank you for reminding us not to give in to despair.
Well, we
to
mustn't.
remember the courts, to remember science.
Well, remember the courts and science and the states that are pushing back, and most Americans pushing back. It is very. Let me just say this: it is very easy in this crazy environment we're in, when flooding the zone, which is what Trump is doing, basically overwhelming us with initiatives every day that make us feel like we are going crazy, that the world is upside down. It is very important that we understand and continue to understand that we are in the majority and that rational thought, and not only rational thought, but decency, social justice, the rule of law, these basics are shared not just with you and the two of us, but with the majority of Americans and majority of people around the world. We are now suffering the consequences of Vladimir Putin and Netanyahu and Donald Trump and a few other dictators around the world who are having a heyday. They are having just a playing field to themselves. But hopefully, and my faith is that we will get through this and we will have once again a country and a world that values democracy, the rule of law, and social justice. Thank you for being with us, Heather.
Thank you, Bob.
We'll see you next weekend.
When I was in Calistoga, I went into this little shop called the Vintage Treehouse, and there was silly coffee mugs, silly. So I had to get you one. And I think this is going to be my new thing, where anytime I go somewhere new, I'm going to get you a ridiculous coffee mug and force
I'm so
you to
excited.
put it on.
It feels like it's a very small coffee mug. It feels like
I mean, it might be gimmicky and
a little.
might be gimmicky.
You asked for half a cup of coffee.
Whoa!
Aha!
Okay.
I like that.
Okay, well, good.
Okay, I have a present for you.
Liar.
I have a present for you.
Your book.